And because Kenilworth and Northview are adjacent schools, there will, Kenilworth will not be able to take some of the Northview children.
Sure.
And we would end up having to move again. I mean, there's absolutely no purpose in moving us. Where we are right now, Rockledge and Whitehall, which are adjacent, their potential growth is either, ours is nothing, and Rockledge is supposed to drop a little bit. So they're going to take us from an area that's stable into an area of growth, so that they can just move us again. They're using our children as pawns.
Yes, they are.
Because we don't have a neighborhood school within walking distance. And I'm sorry, but I did not have children to have them be used like that.
I agree with you totally. I would be appalled. Because when my son was in school, they were all very small and not very crowded.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, my kids are getting very involved in this.
Are you guys optimistic? Or are you pessimistic?
We are pessimistically optimistic. We've been fighting this since November, and it's been a roller coaster ride. Because first we had this, this presentation to the school board before they voted. Color copies we showed because of where we live off of Church Road, most of us, and that is a weird little pocket that I said to the superintendent, we're almost like the island of misfit toys. We don't have a school that we feed into. So we presented that, and we were very hopeful that they would listen, and they decided, nope, we're picking 5 schools, and you have the highest percent, you're one of the 5 in the whole county. So then we had a little crash, and then we appealed. So it's kind of been an emotional roller coaster ride, and the kids too.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be optimistic, but we're also trying to realize and recognize that these officials really don't care about the children first.
No, they do not.
The children need stability. There's no point in moving them just because. And Kenilworth is further away from our homes.
Yeah.
Tulip Grove would actually be
second place to these people's idiotic machinations.
Whatever their agenda is, and children.
Well, that's true of all of PG County's politics, I'm afraid.
Children and politics don't mix.
No.
I mean, if you want to take on adults, fine, but children have nothing to do with politics, and they should not be affected by it. And these are people's lives. I mean, there are people who will have to change before and after care because the hours are drastically different. All kinds of things.
It's a ripple effect.
I mean, it's so many people will be affected because the children left at Whitehall will lose their tag program, will have to change. They'll lose all kinds of resources, and so they suffer. The children at Kenilworth will be crowded out, and then we moved how many times? We've already moved 4 times.
Have you managed to get your alleged school board member to even talk to you about this issue?
I'm wondering if he really exists. You know how they have the Flat Stanley where you take pictures of Flat Stanley throughout the United States and the world? I'm wondering if Owen Johnson is our Flat Stanley.
He's from Brandywine, for heaven's sake. So the extension of the school district onto Brandywine is absurd. You guys will probably remember, for years and years and years, our school board members were from Bowie. They lived here, from Algalado up through a variety of them.
It makes sense.
Verna Teasdale. And everything was fine because they knew this guy Johnson doesn't have a clue of what's going on in Bowie.
Yes, it would be nice to have
And quite frankly, I don't think he cares.
I don't think he does either when you have a boundary review meeting that Hite pulls up in his limo, and it's at Bowie High, and he's not there. I mean, what does that tell you about our own representative? And we have an election coming up, and I think that if anything, if we lose this appeal, I think that citizens, whether you have children or not, need to know that your tax dollars are going for their salaries.
Yes.
And you need to be sure of who you're voting for when you, and that's across the board with any politician.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can just skate into these positions and make these decisions and not really even put into consideration what is going to happen to the kids.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we just found out that Fairwood Elementary has been bumped up to an A status with the state capital planning. So now their targeted date to be built is 2013. Well, guess who is a mile from Fairwood Elementary? We are.
Oh, that's another one of their stipulations is that you don't move children who would potentially be moved again once another school becomes available.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that would be us.
Oh, but you have to wait 3 years.
They
Yeah.
are contradicting themselves left and right.
Well, they always do. They're not even coherent when you hear them.
I mean, they sent us the guidelines and they're not following their guidelines. Or they're saying 2/3 of the Bowie elementary schools that are over capacity don't have to follow the same guidelines that we do. They're using a newly calculated capacity for Rockledge, meaning they actually went through the building last summer and decided how rooms were being used and sent the floor plan to the Department of Planning, and everything was recalculated and updated. And they're comparing updated numbers to our numbers that were never adjusted once the school opened. So the number is an estimate because it is a guess as to how the building will be used. Once the building's being used, that data needs to be sent to the Department of Planning to be updated. Unfortunately, there are no laws requiring it to be done.
Yeah.
So no laws have been broken, but they're being careless and irresponsible with our children.
Yes, they are.
And our children, you know, I'm sorry, but children need to be treated with respect in that they will be our leaders someday. You know, I just don't understand the whole, just toss them around and, you know, stability is very important for kids. And, you know, our neighborhood, like the people at Tulip Grove, you know, they've had a stable school for 40 years or something like that, and we've been bounced around. We've been in our homes for at least 20 years, and we still don't have a stable school.
And we drive by Tulip Grove to go to Kenilworth.
Yeah.
And Tulip Grove is at 70%. And I guess the big thing, too, that I think is important is that this has nothing to do with Kenilworth. Kenilworth is a great school. I love the principal over there. We've toured the facility. If we end up going to Kenilworth, I'll be thrilled to go there.
Sure.
It's more that the school board is they're not making decisions that make sense. They're not making decisions that are
Well, they never
accurate.
have.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the superintendents they've hired, one of whom was convicted?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's our claim
Well,
to
and they're
fame.
willing to throw out money on bringing trailers into Northview instead of
they're willing to
fixing
throw
that
out money on all
issue.
sorts of
Yeah, and that money, I believe, comes out of the capital improvement program, and either that or it comes out of the classroom. I'm not sure which, but either way, you know, the kids will end up suffering for that.
Yeah.
Because that's money that's no longer available, and they could move some of those children to Kenilworth. They could move some of those kids to Pointer Ridge.
And meanwhile, we're losing teachers.
We are. Mm-hmm. We are, because of the budget constraints. We're losing aides, and we're losing people that are helping with kids that have special needs.
But the county executive has 10 protection people.
No, don't get me started on him. He's
Listen to
another
this.
fight.
The state senate, Doug Peters, our state senator, has a staff that's, I think he's got 1 or 2 full-time, 1 part-time. Okay. These people on the county council have 5 staff members. What they do eludes me. Johnson, I think, has a whole floor full of people. What they do eludes me because they can't seem to handle things very well. There's that Washington Post piece that I referenced, or that Aunt Agatha referenced on Facebook. That's appalling.
Yeah.
They're literally asking people to give them bribes to get work done.
Yep.
And that kind of ethos, that kind of atmosphere permeates the whole Prince George's County government. And we as Bowieites should be fed up with it, and we should really be interested in this coming election.
We should annex.
To Anne Arundel County, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
People made a
that.
joke of it at one time, but I don't know. Lately it looks good.
Yeah, exactly. It's frustrating because as a parent here, when I first moved here, I moved here from Anne Arundel County. My husband grew up here. And I was fighting tooth and nail because I had heard so many bad things about PG County and PG County schools. And now he jokes that he can't get me out of the city, that he can't get me out of Bowie. But the unfortunate thing is that a lot of parents, you know, are worried about the schools here.
And they should be.
And
Do you
they're not
realize
fixing
that
it.
the standardized tests, they keep saying they're improving. Yeah, they're improving. They've gone from absolutely appalling to slightly less appalling. We rank only above Baltimore City, and I'm not sure that's true anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, come on. There's other things to worry about in this county, quality of education being one of them, instead of fooling around with silliness like this.
And having 5 aides per person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are moving out of Bowie just because of the
I know it.
schools. And it's very frustrating.
It's sad because
Well, you
our
have a
schools are
mutual
great.
friend who is doing just that.